Hey guys, it's Maymay, and today we're going to make this super cute paper purse, which reminds me a little bit of a doctor bag. Not exactly, but sort of. We're going to play off that, and I'm going to show you how to make these cute little accessories that are charms from your sticker pack. Let's get started. I know you're wondering what paper pack that is. It is called Happy Healing from Doodlebug. Too cute. Let me show you how we're going to do this. I'm going to be using craft colored cardstock for this bag. I used white in the previous one, but we're going to use this one today. And you're going to need 3 pieces of 8.5 by 11. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to go to my scoreboard first. Okay, so 2 of our pieces of cardstock, our 8.5 by 11, are going to get scored like this. We're going to score them at 2 and at 8 and then make a couple of marks. So I'm going to do it really quick with you. So we'll take the first one and we're going to put it in our scoreboard on the 11-inch side. We're going to score at 2. Then I'm going to come down here and score at 8. Now this is super thick cardstock, so what I would suggest is to flip this over and score both sides. I'm using Grocer's Craft from PA, and it can be really thick, so I like to have this going in both directions, so either way I need it, I've got it ready. Then I'm going to turn this, and we need a pencil. We're going to make a mark up here at 3/4 of an inch, and I'm also going to make a mark at 7 3/4 inches. Now, don't stress too much. I'll have the templates and the measurements all in the blog post for you, okay? All right, now what we need to do is do this to a second piece, and we'll get right back together. From your third piece of 8.5 by 11, you're going to need 2 pieces that are 4 inches, and this guy we can use for something else. We don't necessarily need him for this build, but here's the marks we're going to make here. They're a little bit different. This one is going to look like this. So we're going to make a score mark at 5.5. All right, and then we're going to do a lot of pencil marks. So let me show you how that's going to work. We're going to take 1 piece of this cardstock, put it into our scoreboard on the 8.5-inch side, and we're going to score it at 5.5. Just like that. Then we're going to turn this and make some more pencil marks. Here's where we're going to mark it. We're going to mark it 1/2 inch, at 1 inch, at 3 inches, and at 3.5 inches. So those are the marks we're going to make at the top, and let me show you here again with this one. This one's easier to see. 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 3, 3.5. And you want to do that to both of those pieces. Scoring at 5.5, and then making your pencil marks. Now let's go to our trimmer. Now there's a couple of things here on this piece we need to do, and I want to bring this guy in so you can see what I'm doing. We're going to first make this cut. You see this little dash line right here? This is a cut line. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to go to that furthest mark, the 3.5-inch pencil mark, and we're going to cut an angle down to our score mark. All right? So I'm going to place this in. And you know me, I like to sink the blade. And what that means is to bring the blade to the middle, press it in, go up and down, and that gets you a really good cut even on these tiny points down here. Just lift it up and bring it down. Now I'm going to turn this around and do the same on the other side. So from this 1/2 inch mark down to that score mark, just like so. Getting that little angle cut. I'm going to sink the blade again, and I'll go up and then down. And we don't need these little pie pieces. This is what you're looking for first, okay? Now what I want to do is I want to make these 2 cuts. You can see here that we don't need these 2 little 1/2 inch pieces. I'm going to show you a trick to make that happen. Now you can measure in 1/2 inch and score. You could go back to your scoreboard and score it so you can see where it's at. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use my trimmer and I'm going to place this guy 1/2 inch over as if I were going to cut a 1/2 inch off. But instead of cutting all the way down, I'll put this one in so you can see what I'm doing. I'm only going to cut to that score line, which is that 5.5 inch score line. Okay, so I'm going to put this in on the 1/2 inch mark, take my blade, go back to the top, and I'm just going to cut to that 5.5 inch line. So I'm going to turn this where I can see my mark, and I'm going to line up the sides of my blade because I have those little tick marks on the side, and I'm going to let that cut to my score mark. Okay, so I've done that on one side. I need to do it on the other, and I can do it exactly the same. So I've done that on one side. I need to do it on the other. I can do it exactly the same, or I can flip this over like this and just mimic what I just did. And I'll just line that up. If it is not perfect, don't worry. We're going to do some more cutting here. So, all right, with some snips, let's get some cutter bees. So with my cutter bees, I'm just going to cut this directly off. Okay, just make that little snip. And remember, we're doing this to 2 pieces. So I'm going to do this one, and then we'll need to do one more together. All right, at the top, do you see that pencil mark there? And you see this point where we cut into? We need to make a score mark. Now you can go back to your scoreboard, or you can use your trimmer like I'm going to do here. And I'm going to line this up, pencil mark to that little cut that we made, and do a score. And then I'm going to flip it around and the same thing again. Pencil mark to that little cut. Now you certainly could do this with, a Cricut file or something like that. There's all kinds of ways to make paper purses, but I really wanted to try to make one that gave everybody the opportunity to do it, even if you didn't have an electronic cutting machine. So here's a good way to do it. A bunch of just square and rectangle cardstock, and we're turning it into a purse. All right, you know me, I like to take some bulk out. So here on these ends, I'm going to take my scissors and do an angle cut up to the edge there. And then down here, I'm just going to get that little bit of bulk off. We just don't need it, and it just kind of gets in our way. So that one, and then this one as well. Now I want to show you, because I think that little diagram that I have there for you can be a little confusing when you first look at it. But this is what we've done. Okay, so we've basically made the side of our purse. I need to go make one more of these, and we'll get right back together. Now this is the first piece we scored, and you remember we made those pencil marks at the top up here. We need to do some trimming here because we want to get this angle just like that. So what we'll do here is take this one to our trimmer. This is very, very easy to do. You're just going to put your pencil mark into your cut line at the top and the bottom score line at the bottom. Okay, so you remember you did a 2-inch and an 8-inch. You want to use that 8-inch score line. And again, you can sink the blade there. This one's pretty thick where I start, and it's not necessarily something I have to do. And this cardstock is super sturdy anyway. But it never hurts to be safe, to get a good point, to sink that blade in the middle and go up and down. All right, do that to your other piece as well. Now, many of you have probably made these before. If you haven't, and you would like to see the original version of this, which I called the sophisticated satchel because I thought it was so sophisticated, we'll link that video below. It was a live video I did, I think 6 years ago, something. I don't know. It was a long time ago. So if you'd like to see the original, we'll link that in the description below. But if you have made the original sophisticated satchel, tell me in the comments how many you've made. All right, now we need to fold and crease, my favorite part. So I'm going to fold this top portion back and crease this down just like that. And then we need this to go opposite of each other because this is the front of the bag. This is the little flap that comes to the front. This is the base of our bag. So I'm going to flip this over and turn it back and crease it this way. Now let me show you what I mean. So we have our flap to the front, and then our base is going to the back. And we need to do that same thing to both pieces. So flap to the front, and then base to the back. This little purse goes together really quick, and it really is easy to do because everything's just pretty much lines, but we still get the look of more detailed work. So you see how those are going to go together just like that, and we've got a front and a back. Let's work on our sides. So that's what these pieces are. And what we want to do here is we want to fold and crease all these lines that we made. Now I'm going to be using wet glue today, but this is a great purse to use sticky tape on. I feel like you have to do a little bit of fancy footwork in the assembly, so a little bit of sticky tape would not be a bad idea here, or maybe a combination of both. I also want you to tell me in the comments below, what would you be putting in this purse? I have so many ideas, and if you'll stick around, I'm going to tell you at the end what I plan to put inside the purse and when you can expect to see me make what's going inside the purse. All right, so here we go. Bring one of these bases over, and here's what we're going to do. We want to make sure that top flap is folded under, so we're working on the inside of the base, all right? We're going to take one of these little guys and apply glue right here. So again, good place for you to put your sticky tape. Now I'm going to use my art glitter glue and just run it just on this flap. Now when you glue this guy down, you want to make sure that you have him just to one side of the score mark. You don't want him overlapping your score right here because you want this guy to lift up. So what I do is kind of push it back to that score mark. So I also clear the edge here, and you want to also make sure that your score hangs over the edge just the amount of the score. Okay, now this is all going to get glued together when we get, after this step, we'll glue those together, and it all cleans up really nice and neat and looks like one cohesive piece of cardstock. All right, the next one can go down. Same thing, I'm going to let my score mark hang off the edge a little bit on the side, but right here, I'm going to lift up and push my piece back to it, just so I know I can still get that to stand up straight, and I get a nice flush application there. All right, now on this next piece, I want to show you something. You have two options. You could put this guy on top of here and hide those little flaps and make it seamless on the top and the bottom. Let me show you. There's inside, and that would be outside. However, I don't like, I'll show you exactly what I don't like. I don't like how this just butts up here. I would prefer to have this wrapped in. I think it's just a little sturdier, and I get that cleaner look on the edge. Yes, you do have one over here, but it's not the front of the bag that's doing it, if that makes sense. So I'm going to put my glue here and put it underneath, but you do whatever you're comfortable with. If you would rather put it on top of that section, go right ahead. All right, I'm going to apply my glue. You're not going to see the bottom of my bag very much. And if you don't like the way it looks, you can always put a piece of cardstock in there and glue it down. You might even want to do it at this point. All right, this guy gets lined up nice and even. Keep him standing up so you know you can close, open this side up. If you overlap onto that score mark at all, you get resistance, and that's what we don't want. All right, check this out. So look how it all looks like one piece, how we've done it. Isn't that nice? Now it is time to close it up. Oh, I'll tell you this too. You might decide you want to go ahead and decorate at this point. It's not too difficult to do. I'm going to close it all up and decorate it standing. But if you wanted to go ahead and glue your pages down while it's flat, consider that at this point. All right, let's get this guy closed up. And here's how I'm going to do it. I want to try to do it where you can see what I'm doing. So we're just going to be applying glue onto this flap and this flap. And we're going to do that on both sides, and this guy will close right up together, okay? So I'm going to put glue here, and I'm going to go ahead and put glue here. Then I'm going to send this over so that it lays into that glue, but then I'm going to flip this guy over and put my hand inside to get that lined up nicely, okay? So I'm going to bring this guy over here where he needs to be. You can see, well, you can't really see because that's in your way. Let me move it. You can see that my glue touched. It's not a big deal. I had plenty of glue on there. I'm going to get in there and rub that down. This will all go away when it dries, so you won't even see any of that. All right, now for the other side, it's a little trickier, but only slightly because it stays where it's supposed to be because we've already done all that pressing. So we're going to apply glue. Then I'm going to close this down and kind of line everything up, and I'll flip it over. And I'm going to use my bone folder to get in there and rub that down for me. So flip it just like this. And then I'm going to use my bone folder to get in there and press. And that will activate my glue. Not that this glue has to activate, but there's something about art glitter glue that likes pressure. And I just think it works better whenever I get in there and press on it a little bit. All right, you guys, that's how quick the base goes together. Now, honestly, you could use this just as it is, and you could put a strap that goes around it like this. Today, I'm going to show you how to put the straps that go on the front, but you could totally do the same thing with a longer version going across the top. All right, let's cut some paper to decorate. Now, I want to show you that I'm going to be cutting the yellow portion here. I'm going to do it blue on my other purse, but you can see there's yellow on the front and both sides and the back. You can get that from one piece of 12 by 12, all right? This piece is 5 3/4 by 8 1/4. I cut that twice. That's going to leave me a strip at the bottom that I can use for something else. Then these pieces are 2 3/4 by 5 3/4, and that leaves me a strip on the end we can use for something else. But this all comes from one piece of 12 by 12. So it's not too bad. It doesn't use as much paper as you might think. All right, these guys need to be edited a tiny bit. Let me show you how. So you'll see that they're the right length at the bottom to get our little matte edge, our little border, but at the top they hang over. So we need to do some cutting. There's a couple of ways to do that, okay? I like personally lining up the bottom where it should go, okay? And you can even use some yellow tape if you need a little help getting this to sit still. But I like to do that. And then I like to look up here and make a pencil mark where I want this to come in. And I want this to come in about this much. I have found that no matter how perfectly I cut every time, they just don't quite line up like I want them to unless I do it this way. So I just make a couple of pencil marks and then do an angled cut, and then I can get what I want. So from that pencil mark to the corner, and the same on the other side. It works out to be about 1/2 inch, but honestly, it's kind of in between 1/2 inch and 3/8 of an inch. So I just do it this way, and I know that it's how I want it. So when I bring this back over and I lay it into the spot, I know it lays correctly. See that? So now I'm just going to use this to be my template for the second one. Now, you guessed it, I'm going to do the same thing on the ends. I've already got it cut to the right size at the bottom, okay? So I'll just kind of line that up and let it float a bit. This one's a little easier to hold on to because it's not quite so big. All right, I see where I made a mistake. I should have told you this, and we'll make sure we have it right in the measurements. The sides are not quite as tall as the front, so we won't cut these quite as tall. Let me see how much. These pieces should actually be 5 1/4 tall. So let me make that edit, and we'll make sure we put the right numbers into the blog post for you guys. So now we can place these just like we did the front of the purse, and these are a lot easier to place because they're smaller, so I can kind of get my hand on them easier. So just put that into place where you want it, kind of float it there. Again, you might want to just tape it with some yellow tape to hold it in place. Then take your pencil and make a mark kind of where you want that mat to be. And once you get one right, you actually could just make yourself templates for future purses that you're going to make. Just go ahead and make the templates from these. I'm going to just stack these on top of each other and cut them at the same time this time. All right, we can now glue all of these pieces in place. So I'm going to just go back to where we were, apply glue, and put them into their places just like that. One thing you can do while you're gluing these on is just stick your hand inside and kind of press those down. Now, I like to pick the one I think is the best that I got on like I wanted it, and this one went on better than the one on the back. So this is going to be the front of my bag. And now we need to cut a strip for here to cover those. These pieces are 1 3/4 by 7 1/4, and you can see we need to do the same thing here, and that is line up the edges and make our marks where we want our mats to be. When you're making this, if these little angles are not perfect, don't stress about that. The end result is so cute that it's not the end of the world if they're not just perfectly exact. Now we glue these in place. So you see how this has a little lift to it? In my previous satchels that I made, I glued that straight down. I like that lifted a little bit. So here's what I did different this time. I just used some foam squares, and I'm just going to take 3 foam squares for each side. Actually, these are big ones. I thought they were smaller. We'll use the big ones on this side. It won't matter because nothing goes underneath them. So I'm just going to put a couple of foam squares on, just like this. And then I'm going to turn that over so that it just lifts off the purse slightly. It really doesn't make a huge difference, but I just kind of like the kind of shadow we get there. I think it's really cool to kind of give it some like fabric-y texture maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's in my brain. If you're using these smaller ones like this, you want to make sure you put one in the middle to support that center section. So cute. Okay, let's talk handles. They are so easy, you're not going to believe it. All right, you're going to need 2 pieces that are 1 1/4 inches wide by 12 inches long. So on these 1 1/4 inch by 12 inch strips that are going to be the handle, you want to score these in half, and that is 5/8. So I'm just lining this up on my paper trimmer, and I'm going to score this in half. You can do this on your scoreboard too. You just need to get that little mark. And honestly, you could just fold them in half and it would be fine. But there is something I need to caution you about on your handles. When you're choosing your paper for your handles, there's one thing you need to remember: the orientation of the pattern. If you put a pattern on that looks correct on this side, and you roll this around like you're supposed to, it's going to be upside down on this side. So you need to make sure you get one pattern from your pack that it doesn't matter which way it goes, okay? So that's why I chose these little floral pieces. All right, I'm going to fold this in half, and I'm going to crease this down with my bone folder. Now, you might have noticed I did something to those handles. I'm going to do that and show you how that works too. But let me get them both folded and creased. I love my stub and scallop punch, and this is what I'm going to use on these little handles. You can just use a corner rounder and it works fine, but on these little edges down here, I took on my first one and I did the little scallop punch on the corners, and look how cute this makes it. It looks like a little handle, right? It's so cute. So I'm going to do that on all of the ends of these guys. Now, I made a decision on these handles that is probably going to shock you, but we'll get there in a minute. Right now, I'm going to show you something else we can do, okay? So now that we've got these folded in half, what I want you to do is take your bone folder and roll this like this to kind of curl this as if you were making ribbon curls. What we're trying to do is that we want that handle shape, okay? So I'm going to get those rolled over like this, just like that. As long as you've got that good handle shape at the top, you're doing great. Now what I want you to do is I want you to kind of open this end. Okay, this is a trick that works really easy. Take your ruler, lay this guy down, and place your ruler at 1.5 inches in on that handle. Do you see how I can see through the ruler? Then I'm going to just lift up. That is what's going to get glued down. Then back here, I'm just going to squeeze this together. And see how that's going to create that little handle for us? It's pretty cool, right? Let's do it on the other side too. So I'm going to open this guy up, lay my ruler down 1.5 inches in, do a little crease. Then I can pick this up, close my handle down behind that crease, and I know that both of my little attachment pieces will be the same. Now here's that controversial thing I decided to do. I'm not gluing this shut. Now I'm going to tell you why. In the past, I have glued these little guys, and they never quite lay correctly when I do that. So they're not going to open. Let me show you on this one. He's not going to open. There's really no way to do that. So I'm not going to get that wet and get the waviness from it with the glue, or I'm not going to try to get it perfectly smooth. This works just great. So we're just not going to glue that part. We'll glue them to the bag and we'll be in good shape. All right, let me do my second handles and we'll put these on. Now to glue your handles on, it's super easy. You're just going to apply glue to the flat section of the handle, just like that. And you're just going to put this at the top. Now I'm going to have to stand mine up so I can make sure I'm kind of lining them up even. But you're just going to put this onto this top flap. Now the only really lining up I did was where my fold was on my handle. I lined it up to the edge of my cardstock here, not all the way to the top of the purse. You can do that either way. It doesn't matter. That's just where I went with it. All right, so I got one down. I'm going to glue the other side down and we'll have our handles on. Now I need you to brace yourself for cuteness because this stuff is so cute. On this purse, I'm going to use these little peels right here. And let me show you where I'm putting them. I'm going to use them as if they were buttons on my purse or on my bag to hold my handles in. So I'm just going to put a little peel on either side there like that. Isn't that adorable? I'm going to do that on all the handles. So you can see our little peels that look like buttons or rivets on our purse. Now I want to show you how to do these little charms because they are super fun and so cute. Let's start with this big guy. These are the little shaker pops that coordinate with the set. They don't come with the set, they're coordinated with the set. And I'm going to use this guy to make a little charm. So I'm going to peel him off and then lay him sticky side up off to the side where I won't pick him up. And I'm going to use this little piece to my advantage. Now there's multiple stickers on this piece, so I'm going to cut this out so that I don't mess up those other stickers. But we're going to use this negative space as a template. I'm going to take some scrap from what I've been cutting. This is a good piece here. I'm going to lay that down, and I'm just going to peel this off the backer, and I'm going to stick this down. Now, you might want to work the sticky down a little bit because they're super sticky little stickers, but I'm just going to lay this on here, and I'm not going to super press it. I'm just going to put it down so I can trace inside of it. Just going to do a little trace around there, and this is going to be the back of our little sticker so we can make it a charm. So I'll lift that off. You do not need that again because you've used that sticker, so we can move on. But now we're going to cut this out. When I cut this out, I made sure to cut it out just on the outside of the pencil mark because we want this to be the exact same size as our sticker. So I don't want to cut the pencil mark completely away. I want to cut right to the edge of it so I can get the same size. I'm going to be using some of this hemp cord. I love this cord. It's so easy to use. And I've got myself a piece here. And what I need to do is get some of that wrinkle out. So I'm going to just kind of do it like we did with our cardstock and see how it just makes it softer and it takes that wrinkle out when we kind of ribbon curl it. This guy is now going to go around our handle, and I'll show you what I'm doing. I'm just going to put him around the handle like that. Okay. I'll try to do this laying in this direction. I'm not sure that I can. With it around the handle, I'm going to bring it kind of close together and at whatever length I want my little pill bottle charm to hang. This is my sticker with the sticky exposed. All right. I want to decide, I want it to hang kind of low this time. I'm going to put him about like that. And I just need to get him started, and I'm going to flip it over just so I know the length. And I'm going to tuck these strings together. Got that one there. Let's bring that one over here too. I'll move my hand so you can see. So you see how I've got them in there together, and I'm going to trim the bottom off because I don't need all of that hanging out. Unless you wanted to put something underneath, which you totally could. You could tie something else down there. Then I'll take this little piece that we cut, and I'm going to sandwich that. Now, I did not add additional glue. You might consider doing that, but they're so sticky. It really didn't need it. I'm just going to take a second to really rub that into place. And so what we've basically done is just created a little charm out of a sticker. And I love that. I think that looks adorable. I really like how long that one is. Now, as cute as these are, let me show you another one that's super cute. So I got another piece of string, and this time I'm going to use these little Kleenex boxes. Now, these are not perfectly mirrored images of each other, but it's very, very close. In the previous one, I did these little guys, and they are mirror image, so they worked perfect. This is going to be just fine, though. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this little guy onto the string, just like this, okay? I'll bring my purse over, and I'm going to wrap this around. Now, I layered my charms all on the same side. You don't have to do that. Now, this pink is too much. I just noticed it's too much pink against the purse, so I'm going to put the yellow one out. So that means I'm going to stick the yellow one onto here instead of the pink one. We're doing the same thing we did, but I'm using a sticker on the back to finish off the charm. All right, so how long do I want it? About like that. And I'll flip this over where you can see it. So you see here, I've got 2 strings on the back now. Snip that excess away. And then I'm going to place this guy on the back to close it in. And that just makes another little charm. Now I want to do one more. This is another set of stickers from the same paper collection. And I'm going to use these Band-Aids. It is so cute. Let me show you. So I'm going to take 2 of these Band-Aids. We'll start with one. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to stick this guy in, stick the string in. This one doesn't matter as much because the Band-Aids are pretty much the same color. So I just put that one for the back. I'm going to bring this guy around. We're going to have 3 charms right here. Trim off that excess. And lay another Band-Aid on top. And these are mirrored images, so it's really easy. And again, if you feel like you need to add extra glue, go ahead. It seems to be okay. Later, I might decide, I need to add extra glue. But look at the little charms we made. Isn't that adorable? I love how that looks. Okay, now I love this space, and I think I want to put a little cut apart here. So let's look at what we've got available. I'm actually going to look into the ephemera packs and see what we have. So I found this little clipboard, which I think is adorable to go right there. This little saying says, taking it one day at a time. This one says all fixed up. I think these are super cute. You can put these in any old way you want to across there. I think I'm going to put this little guy down first, the clipboard, and then decide where I'm going to put this. I decided to pop him up on a little foam. I think that'll be cute. Now, there they are. Look how cute they are. I love how these turned out. If you would like to see what I'm going to make to go inside, I have 2 ideas. So my next couple of videos will probably have what's going inside of these. If you would like to see that, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. And if you want to see the original paper purse that I did or a few others, I have quite a playlist of paper purses. We'll link that here in the video for you so you can go and check those out as well. Hey, thanks so much for being here today. And until next time, bye now.